Hey, friends, you've heard me share about the Restored Hope Network, and I'm excited to invite you to this year's Hope 2025 conference happening online. Yes, the conference is virtual, which makes it accessible to people around the world, but we also know something powerful happens when we're face to face. So, His Wonderful Works in Conyers, Georgia is hosting a local in person gathering for the virtual event. Join us Friday and Saturday, June 20th and 21st from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. right here in Conyers, Georgia. It's just $30 for one day or $50 for both, and that includes a delicious box lunch. Whether you're experiencing same sex attraction or gender dysphoria, supporting a loved one, or serving as a pastor, counselor, or friend, this is a safe, grace filled space to connect, grow, and be encouraged. You'll hear powerful teaching, experience practical workshops, and witness real stories of God's transforming love. This is more than a conference, it's a community of hope. If you want to know more, just email me at melinda@melindapatrick.org. We can't wait to see you. Hey, friends, welcome back to the Bridge Between Us podcast. If you are new here to the Bridge Between Us podcast, I hope that you find this to be a place of safety and encouragement and equipping. You know, we all walk through difficult times in this life, and especially as followers of Jesus, God's word is very clear and tells us that not if you have trouble, but when you have trouble, when we have difficulties. But God's word is also clear that He goes before us. He provides everything that we need to walk through that. And He is faithful to us. And just a few weeks ago, I was just telling my guests, I cannot wait for you to meet her. I was on Amazon just Googling books, and I had had a conversation with a friend of mine, and we were just talking about the healing journey. And so I was just like, Lord, is there a book that I could read? Is there something else that I could gain wisdom and insight from? And I came across Amy Riordan's book, and I sat down that day, Amy, and I read it in a day. I had it put on my Kindle so I could have it quick. And I want to thank you before we even get into this podcast. I want to thank you for being open and honest and for just sharing your journey and not saying, "Okay, Lord, you healed me. I'm moving on with life." But you have allowed the Lord to use your life as a vessel to help others in any type of sexual or relational brokenness. And so, Amy Riordan, thank you so much for joining me today on the Bridge Between Us podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Yes. And so, why would you even want to come on a podcast like The Bridge Between Us?
Well, I love giving people hope and encouragement and just and I was sharing with you earlier, this is something I never thought I would do. I'm a very private person, but God has really encouraged me to share my story. And that, of course, continues to change. And as I move along in my journey, it's still continuing. And I just love encouraging people who have felt alone and like they're the only ones. So that's why I needed that. That's something that I really needed myself. So I wanted to give that away to somebody else.
So good, and we're so thankful for that. And that's really the reason I started the podcast, is because when I started this journey as a parent, I didn't have the resources. This was back in 2011, and of course times have really changed, especially since 2020. But back then I didn't have the resources, and I thought, you know what, Lord, if you can use me to be a resource for other parents on this journey and other hurting families, then I am willing. And so thank you, Amy, so much for your willingness.
You're welcome.
So let's dive a little bit into your story and your ministry, because you minister. Well, I'll let you tell the audience who you minister to these days.
Well, these days it's mostly women. There was one man, but I'm not working with him anymore, but it's mostly women who find my book like you did, or whatever the case may be, who they're wrestling with their sexuality, whether it's same-sex attraction or pornography or anything like that. Most of them have been in the church. Some of them now, as the further along I go, some of them are not. They've just come out of relationships and don't know what to do. God's been working on their hearts, and it's just really, that's really amazing. So, um, but yeah, so that's pretty much who I work with. It's a variety of ages. It started out college age, and now it's like I'm 51, so it's well, there's a lot of people my age now that are reaching out.
That's good because that means that God is just continually drawing people in for healing. And I love that you are now even ministering to those that aren't necessarily in the church, but they're feeling that tug, that conviction, and something inside them is saying, okay, there has to be more than what I'm walking through. And you have come to that place in your own life. Do you mind sharing just a bit about that?
Sure. I grew up in the church. I went to church every single Sunday, and I really, I did not have a relationship with Jesus then. I didn't know that I was supposed to. I thought it was all about dressing the right way and following all the right rules. And I don't know, I just did it because that's what I was supposed to do. And in my 20s, actually, when I was a senior in high school, is when I got involved in the relationship that I mentioned in my book. She was my best friend, and I had always liked boys up until knowing her. And I know I'm jumping through a lot, so feel free to stop me and
No,
ask
you're
any.
good.
But I didn't know what to do with that. I had a dream about her, and that had never happened to me before. And I kept that to myself for a few months, I believe, because I did not want to tell her. I thought, she's going to run away. This is horrible. She's going to, but I ended up telling her, and she said, don't worry about it. I don't worry about it. And that's when I realized the same thing was happening to her.
Mm.
And we talked about what we were going to do with that. And we ended up getting into a relationship with each other, which I never, ever thought that I would do before that. But I felt a connection with her that I had never felt with anybody, like all the boys that I had dated before. I felt like I'd known her my whole entire life, and I hadn't really known her very long. We worked together, and that lasted a couple years until her parents found out. And um they said they wouldn't pay for her college anymore, which all this is, my kids are getting very close to that age. So the older they get, I think, oh no, like I get it. I totally get it now. But my heart was just, it was just shattered. I didn't know what to do. And I had always wanted kids. I always thought before then that I would get married. And so I just kind of just started dating again and trying to figure out what to do with my life. And I ended up getting married to a guy that I worked with. And I feel like I'm sharing so much here. There's so much in like a 6 or 7 year
They can
period.
read the book.
Yes, yes. But that kind of ended not so well. He was involved with drugs and alcohol, and I knew that, and I did a little bit of that too, but I stopped. I had no idea how fortunate I was to say, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. So I stopped, and he did not. And our marriage ended not too long after that. And I go into more of that in the book, but um, it was right after that that I started going back to church after several years of not going. And I only went because my mom wouldn't stop bothering me about it. She said, there's a new church for young adults if you want to go. And I didn't want to, but I wanted her to stop asking me. So I went, and I ended up loving it. I felt like I belonged there. And I hadn't experienced that in the first church that I was a part of. And I just was soaking everything in. And it was during that time, not right away, but I had taken a class, a small group, like my first small group. I'd never heard of small groups like that term before that. It was called Defending Your Faith. And
Mm.
I actually took that in my mind to convince my, at the time, soon to be ex-husband that God was real, because I thought that I had given my life to Jesus. I don't know what I thought, but I thought I needed to convince him that God was real. And in taking that group, I realized I had never given my life to Jesus. I didn't even know I needed to. And that's when I gave my life to him, was in that the homework that we had to do, which I thought, oh, I don't want to do this homework. I didn't think I was doing all of this, but God really just reached out to me in one of the loneliest times of my life. I felt so very alone, and I had no idea that there was anything more than what I knew from when I was growing up. So that was just, that's what started this whole journey of following him. And there's a whole lot after that of ups and downs and walking away and coming back and just everything. But he's been just so faithful in my life.
Mhm.
And learning what intimacy with him was years later is what helped me with everything that I had dealt with, because I ended up getting involved in pornography later on in my life after I had my first child. Because I was dealing with postpartum depression. That's not an excuse. I'm always telling people that it's not an excuse, but it's a time marker. I know this is when this started. So much shame at that point because I was a Christian, and I'm like, why, gosh. And I was looking at lesbian pornography, which made it all worse because I thought, I can't tell anybody. I can't. And I thought all of that was in my past. I honestly hadn't dealt with any of that for several years. And that just made everything kind of snowball on me. And I actually got to the point where I was considering leaving my husband because I thought I shouldn't have married a man. I should be with a woman. And which scared me, which is good. I'm glad now. And the Holy Spirit kept tapping me on the shoulder. Tell your husband, tell him, tell him. And I finally did tell him, which was so, as you can imagine, so
I can't imagine
hard.
how
I
hard
ended
that
up writing
was.
it down, which I guess I think I started the book out writing that. Like I handed him a piece of paper because I couldn't say I've been looking at pornography, and the women is what I wrote, not the men, but the women. And I didn't know how to speak those words out loud. I didn't even know how to say what I had been doing. So God's done so much and continues to just take me on this journey and causing me to realize I needed intimacy with him, like closeness, that depth and relationship with God that I didn't know was possible. And then that can flow down to other people. But
Mhm.
I didn't know that's what I really, one of my friends just happened to mention that to me one day. Oh, and I know it was God now, but she said, Amy, you're needing intimacy with, she didn't say with God, but I thought, what does that mean? Because I always thought that was equal to like sex. Like those are the same, but those are not the same thing. And but that got me looking into this and thinking, God, is that what I'm needing? And how do I get that? And just learning how to be transparent with him and sharing my heart with him, which I had never ever done. And that was so challenging. That's a lot of it right there.
I think that's one of the things that really ministered to me as a woman and as a mom and as a wife. In your book, you do start out at the beginning just sharing where you had been and how the Lord drew you in, but the depth of your book is really what it looks like to have a deep, intimate relationship with the Lord. And you talk about journaling, you talk about um, just as I read your book, I was like, oh my gosh, like she knows the Lord. She has a very personal, intimate relationship with the Lord. So would you share with us how that is really that intimacy, which you said, and which oftentimes we do think that intimacy and sex are the same thing, but they're not. And so share with us how that intimate walk with the Lord has, I mean, it was your healing journey. I can't imagine you being where you are today without that.
Yes, that just makes me want to cry all of a sudden. I hadn't really thought about that. Like some of the things I went through that I took my own self through were so hard, but without knowing intimacy with him, I mean, that's helped me with everything, not just, the topics that I just brought up. It's been everything. Um, I I started, and I might have mentioned this in the book. I forget where I mentioned things, but I didn't know how to say these things out loud. Like I didn't know how to say that to my husband. I ended up writing it all down one day, just writing what was in my heart. Like, God, if intimacy with you is what I think it is, that's horrifying. Like I just felt so exposed, and I ended up just writing a lot of my fears down, and my heart just kind of it's spilling all out. And I love to write. So that was the easy part for me, was writing it, because I was used to journaling. But then I felt like I was supposed to say that out loud, which was just horrific for me and saying that out loud. And I ended up turning on my hair dryer. I just had this idea. I'm always telling people this. It sounds so silly, but it helped me. Like I just felt like I needed to say it. So I turned on my hair dryer so I could hear myself, but not really, but a little bit. And that's where I started, and just expressing my heart to him and realizing, oh, I don't think he's angry with me for saying everything that I just said. And that's where I learned to start expressing myself to him. And I'm just being reminded now of a time where I felt so strongly that he was encouraging me to walk around our one local community college. And I felt every day like he was with me. I would go there. It was like I was meeting with him. And people probably thought I was talking to myself, but I was just talking. And sometimes I was just listening. And it was I've tried to recreate that, and it's just not the same. Like that was for that time. But these are some of the things that he's just taken me through, and just that's helped with the shame, like so much shame I dealt with before. I'm sure before I gave my life to him, but I started noticing it after, because that's when I realized, oh, I should not be doing these things, and I don't know what to do or who to tell. And that the shame started just falling off of me layer by layer by layer, as I realized I could tell him these things and it's okay. It's okay. And I'm still doing that. Still doing that and building that with him. It's not something I always feel, but we go through seasons, just like we do everything else, of wow, I just really feel him close, and other times I don't. But I've learned I can express all of this to him, and I have to continually remind myself, because I can be a stuffer even now, like, oh, just I don't have time to deal with that right now, how maybe tomorrow. So I realized, oh, I can't do that. I need to take it to him. So yeah.
Yes, I think it's important. And I really want to encourage parents here that are listening today to get Amy's book and read it, because I think for us as parents, it's very important to understand now, not everybody's healing journey is the same. The Lord is very intimate, very personal with every single person. But Amy, your book really does share. You share your heart, you share where you want to shy back, you share the pain, but you also share where the Lord was wooing you. And so parents, I encourage you to read a book, read Amy's book, because I believe that the more we know what a healing journey looks like, the better we are to pray for our children and to come alongside them in their healing journey. And I've also come to learn this, Amy, on my healing journey. I am a mother that has a child that's embraced same-sex attraction. And at the very beginning, I wanted my child to get healing. I wanted to do everything I could. I just jumped ship to do whatever I could to get healing and rescue my child. But what I ended up doing was I ended up drowning, and I actually ended up making my relationship with my child worse, and we just went in this downward spiral. And so I have come to the realization to understand that I can't control other people's healing. I can't control other people's walk and relationship with the Lord. And those things can make us feel powerless. Those things can make us feel like our hands are tied behind our back. But the Lord opened my eyes up to, no, Melinda, you can't control other people, but you can control yourself. And you can choose to walk through healing for yourself. And so these last 12, 13 years, I've been on my own healing journey. And as I was reading your book, I haven't experienced all the same things that you have experienced, but I can still look at your healing journey and my healing journey and see a parallel. I can see where the Lord has wooed me. I can see where the Lord has drawn me into a deeper place of intimacy. And as parents, I believe if we have not walked our own healing journey, we're actually doing a disservice to our child, because how can I come alongside my child when they're needing healing in any area? It doesn't have to be any LGBT connection, it could be any type of healing if I haven't walked through healing myself. And I've also discovered that we don't have to have healed in the same areas and had the same issues. God is faithful and intimate with us wherever we are. And so I can now, walk with others on their healing and say, you know what, I haven't experienced what you've experienced, but I have felt shame. I have felt regret. I have felt like, oh gosh, if I shared this with the Lord, what is he going to think about me? If I'm honest with God about my spiritual disappointment, is he going to be angry with me? And so I've had to be open and honest with that in my own life, and it's given me the opportunity to walk with others. And so I just think it's so important. And I said it at the beginning, I'm gonna say it again. I'm so thankful for you sharing your healing journey.
Thank you. And that I love just hearing so much of what you shared because I've had people like, I wish I would have known this before I wrote my book or just all before because I felt so alone and there's so many people who have read my book for various reasons who are like that I have a different story but I see God speaking to me in here and that's only him. It is definitely not me and it's just so encouraging that we can help. And I it's funny that you say that because I've been learning to do in another way reach out to other women. Like women will come to me who don't wrestle with these topics at all, and at first I was like, oh, I don't know how to help you. I don't know. And but if they're wrestling with shame, like they see something and like I deal with shame or I am dealing with being very, very hard on myself or whatever the case may be, or I don't know how to talk to God. And I know how I know what that's like. So it's just very interesting. Our stories can be so different, but when we let God work in our lives, we can help others in similar ways, even if they have different stories. So I just love that.
Hmm. Yeah, it made me think when I started this writing journey myself many years ago, actually. You don't just sit down and write a book in a weekend, do you? You live it first. And so one thing that one of my writing coaches always said was, Melinda, who are you writing to? And so at first I was like, oh, well, I'm writing to women. And she's like, well, what kind of women? Who, tell me about this one woman. And I'm like, oh, I'm not writing to just one woman. I'm writing to women, Christian women in general. And this coach used to say, Melinda, if you write to all, you write to none. But if you write to one, you write to all. And so she taught me how to determine this one person that I was writing to. And so, what are her needs? What fears wake her up in the middle of the night? What does she struggle with? Where does she feel that she's good at? Where does she enjoy spending her time? Does she have a family? Does she not? Does she work full time? Does she minister or volunteer at the church? And so I filled in all that stuff and I even gave a name to my one person. And it's true, your book. You probably wrote, I don't know, you probably wrote to someone who dealt with either same sex attraction or any type of sexual brokenness. But yet, it has ministered to me, and I'm sure it will really minister to others, because ultimately, at the heart of your book, Amy, is the importance of an intimate relationship with the Lord. And you walk us through even what it looked like for you. You know, okay, Lord, and you do talk about that in your book about turning the hair dryer on. And I love that, because I'm like, oh gosh, she's like giving us practical things that we can use in our own lives. And as parents, many of us haven't walked through same-sex attraction or sexual brokenness, but we have walked through codependency. We have walked through needing to surrender our child. We have walked through shame and regret and the what ifs and I should haves and I shouldn't have kind of things. And so your book, I think, will minister to many for that.
I'm glad. I just feel to share. I talk with more people that struggle than the parents. But I know many women who, as God is kind of gripping their heart and they're going through just the untangling of everything, somewhere along the way, God often shows them their parents' hearts, whether it came out like intended or not, or they misunderstood. Somewhere along the way, God shows them. I often see that, like they can see what their parents' intention was, because I don't know what I would do. I've thought about that. Like, God, what would I do? How would I handle this? Because it can be such a scary thing. And as the culture continues to change, it's just getting very intense. It's amazing what God will do, and a lot of it is unexpressed to a lot of people. A lot of things go um are hidden before they're expressed to anybody else. So um I just I have an appreciation for parents who are walking through this and trying their best. Because what do you do? No one's prepared. No one is really expecting this. Sometimes you have an idea or an inkling, like, I wonder if this is what they're wrestling with. And as a parent myself, dealing with other issues with my teenagers, because things always come up, it's like, God, I really hope I need wisdom from you on how to handle this, or I really, really messed this up and I need your help. And I really need your help. And part of what's helped me is with my kids, at least I hope so, is being transparent with them, and that I have just I have not arrived, and they know that. That's quite evident to them, but just like God, and they know about my book, so that's a whole other topic, but which makes it kind of interesting. But that I started telling them little things here and there as time went on, because I knew they were going to find out. So that's a whole other thing. But um just in this, just in talking to them, like, you can talk to me. And because I didn't grow up in a household like that, there was no talking about anything. So even just knowing you can talk to me, you might not always want to. They might go to somebody else, like I did. But yeah.
Yeah, just be in that safe place. And I think it's really good that we as parents are open and honest, age appropriate. You know, we don't need to be telling our kids everything, but if the Holy Spirit, if a situation arises and the Holy Spirit say, "Okay, you need to share this portion of your walk with me, or you need to share this portion of your healing journey," what that does when we are able to do that, it creates an atmosphere of safety and vulnerability. It's like, hey, I'm willing to be vulnerable and share with you some deep pains or some deep struggles that I've had. And I want you to know that I don't judge you. Every person has some type of struggle. Every person has some type of brokenness. We don't have it all together. And I don't care if you've been a Christian since the age 5, we're not going to have it all together. We're going to make mistakes. And I'm reading through the Bible right now, and I'm in the part of Samuel with David, and you know, the Lord looked at David and said, "He is a man after my own heart." Yet David still had struggles. David still messed up. David still had to ask for forgiveness and pour his heart out before the Lord. But that is a true intimate relationship. When we can be open and honest and vulnerable about where we are and what is going on in our life and come to a place of understanding that, you know what, God sees me, He loves me, He's not going to leave me. I don't care what I've done, He's not going to leave me. And if we can create that atmosphere with our children, I think it's just good soil. It's a place where good seeds or seeds can find good soil and begin to take deep root.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That knowing him intimately is just, it's so life-giving and so needed every day. And I know that I can go for whatever reason. I don't know if it's because I wrote a book on this topic, but people can think that I feel this all the time, or that my walk with him is like I never um kind of go a day without, like, I have gone just like anybody else, like everything's going well, and some days will go by and I'm kind of coasting on that, and I realize, oh, I've been coasting on what I had a week ago or 2 weeks ago or a month ago, and I can't be doing that. And it's like he's so kind in drawing me back in. Like, come on,
Mm.
Amy, you're super stressed, and I can help you with that, remember? You don't have
Yes.
to figure all this out by yourself, because I can very easily try to figure everything out. And just that reminder of I need him when times are troubling and when times are good. Both times, all times.
Mm, 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 mm. Well, where we have been talking about your book, share the name of your book and where our listeners can find it.
Sure. It's called Longing for Intimacy, and it's on Amazon. I have the paperback and Kindle version, and it's on Audible now too. So, which I'm happy about, because a lot of people were wanting that, and I thought, I don't know how, but now it's done. So,
Yay. And then you also have a ministry. So you walk primarily with women in a healing relationship, just walking with them in what it looks like to walk through healing and intimacy with the Lord. So where could our listeners, if they wanted to reach out for more information on that, where could they connect with you?
yes, the main place to find me is on my website, which is walkinginfreedomministries.com. And I have a bunch of information. I have a blog on there. It's been a while since I feel like I've updated that, but I have several different resources on there, and a way to contact me as well.
Okay. So as we close today, Amy, if our listeners had one takeaway, what is something that you would hope that they took away from our conversation?
I would say just knowing that they can go to Jesus for anything, and whether things are going well or they feel like they've messed everything up, where they're dealing with so much shame. Shame is the big topic, it seems like, that I talk to people about. Just knowing it's not too late. It is absolutely not too late. No matter what side of the fence you're on or what the topic is, Jesus is there, and he will help you and give you wisdom, and it's just not too late.
Well, thank you, Amy, so much for joining me today on the Bridge Between Us podcast. And friends, I really do encourage you to find Amy's book and read that or listen to it. It's on Audible now as well. And then I also encourage you to leave a review for her book. Being an author myself, I've learned that it's very important. Reviews really do make a difference. And so you can say thank you to her by leaving a review. And I want you to share this episode with someone. Perhaps the Lord brought somebody to your mind. It could be another parent, or it could be someone else that is just walking on their own healing journey and just needing to be encouraged. I want you to share this episode with them. And also, as I remind us and myself every week, God has entrusted this journey to you. And as you engage with Him, He will be faithful to give you everything that you need. He will be faithful to equip you for each next step. So I'll talk to you next week, friends.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Bridge Between Us podcast with Melinda Patrick. To find out more, go to melindapatrick.org. Once you're there, you can check out the many resources that Melinda has available. Also, you can book Melinda for your next speaking engagement. Just click on the Speaking tab at the top of the page for more information. All of this can be found at melindapatrick.org. Thank you for listening in today. Be sure to join us next time for another episode of The Bridge Between Us with Melinda Patrick. In The Daring Rescue, a new book from Melinda Patrick, parents learn how to join Jesus Christ in his pursuit of your LGBTQ identifying child's heart. In 2011, Melinda was faced with her own daughter embracing that lifestyle, so she is all too familiar with the struggle parents can face when confronted by their own children who identify with this compromising community. Through The Daring Rescue, parents will regain hope and will be encouraged to still love well while holding on to God's eternal truth. Even though culture can be shifting and affecting children of Christian parents, this book will equip and embolden moms and dads to be a vessel through which Jesus Christ can minister to their LGBTQ identifying child. The Daring Rescue is a must-read because we are in a war, and the lives of our children and future generations are at stake. The Daring Rescue by Melinda Patrick, available now.